Hi there guys, got a video here for you today on the AGT Vulcan 3, and what we're going to be doing in this video is putting a removable bottle on the front of the rifle. What this will allow us to do is unscrew the bottle without losing all the air inside the rifle. Now unfortunately we will still lose the air in the cylinder, however most of the air is inside the bottle, so we'll retain most of the air. Before we get into that though, I do just want to mention that I will be attending the British Shooting Show and I will be manning the Crawley Surplus Store stand. So if you want to come down and say hello, you can do so. With that said, the parts that we're going to use in this little conversion are an FX bottle adapter. So this is just an off-the-shelf component. Usually it screws in the front of an impact, but on this rifle we're going to be screwing it into the front of the Vulcan. Along with that, we will also obviously need a bottle with the FX bottle adapter in the end there. This is a 480cc carbon fibre bottle, and these two components here should be a direct replacement for the ones already fitted in the rifle. So the first thing we need to do is remove the stock and degas the rifle, and we're going to do that by using a 5mm Allen key and removing these two screws here. With that done, the next thing we need to do is get rid of the air inside the rifle, and to do that we're going to be loosening off this little bleed screw here. Once the hissing stopped, what we can do then is point the rifle in a nice safe direction and dry fire it, just to make sure that there's no air left inside the plenum. With that done, the next thing we can do is unscrew the original bottle. And then we can put the original bottle over to one side, although make sure that you don't lose the little O-ring which goes on the bottle neck. With that done, the next thing we can do is tighten our bleed screw back up again, so this one in the bottom, just so it doesn't get forgotten at a later date. And then what we can do is install our new components. So the first thing we're going to do is reinstall the small O-ring. And before this goes in, I am just going to be adding a small amount of silicone grease to the outside. Then we can get that dropped into this hole here. Then we can get our FX bottle adapter, this piece here, and get that screwed on over the top. This piece does already have a Doughty seal on the bottom, so the two O-rings work together quite nicely, and I didn't experience any leaks on this rifle when I tested this setup. With that on there, we can get that done up nice and tightly with either an adjustable spanner or a suitable sized spanner. Getting that done up nice and tight. And then all we need to do next is screw our bottle on. So this is a 480cc carbon fibre bottle. And then as you can see there, we have pressure inside the rifle. So we're looking about just under 150 in the rifle at the moment. This air cylinder here is quite large, so whenever you put the bottle on it will be a little bit of a pressure drop. From my testing on the bottle, if I had 200 bar in the bottle and then screwed it onto a dry empty rifle, the pressure drop was about 30 bar. But there we have it. The next thing we can do is get the stock reinstalled. But there we have it, so there's the removable bottle on the front of the Vulcan 3. Now unfortunately there are one or two little downsides to having this bottle on the front. Firstly, the original bottle, this one here, is a 300 bar max fill, whereas the new one, this one here, is only a 250 bar max fill. Now to be honest with you, I never fill my rifles up to 300 bar. The maximum I ever go is sort of 250. But normally I only fill to 200. The other issue is the exposed neck of the bottle there, which doesn't look as good as the original one in my opinion, although I do prefer the matte finish of this bottle over the glossy finish of this bottle, so it sort of evens itself out. The other benefit of having a removable bottle on the front is that if you have spare bottles lying around, so this one here is a 300cc and this one here is a 580cc bottle, we could just swap them over if we wanted to. I won't do it for the video as it does waste a little bit of air, but as you can see there, the 300 and the 480 compared side by side, and then the 500 at the bottom. So looks like the 580 would be slightly longer than the shroud, and the 300 one would be slightly shorter than the 480. The only other downside that I will mention is that when you take the 480cc bottle off, you do lose a fair amount of air from this cylinder here. So what I've tended to do is unscrew the bottle until it starts to hiss, and then leave the bottle on the threads until the air inside this cylinder here empties. And very lastly, the only other minor thing that I'll mention is that sometimes when you completely empty any of the AGT rifles, filling them back up can be a little tricky. Now, not on all rifles, this one gassed up absolutely beautifully, but sometimes you do need to cock the rifle before you connect your air back after draining the rifle completely. So if you drained the air completely out of your rifle, so you had a bone dry rifle, before you fill it up you would simply cock the rifle and then connect your fill probe into the fill port there, and then open your bottle nice and fast. Air may leak out the barrel for the first 30 or so seconds, however all that needs to happen is enough air needs to build up in the system in order to close the valve. To be honest with you, it's not typically a problem with the Vulcan 3s, it's more on the Eurogan 2s as the valve on those rifles is slightly different, but I'm probably going to be covering that in a separate dedicated video. For now though, that's how to install a removable bottle onto the front of the Vulcan 3. This will also work on the Eurogan 2, and I do have a video on the channel showing that off. The bottles that we're using are standard intercom bottles which are 62mm in diameter, so probably the all-safe ones will work as well, but I just have the intercom ones on hand. And as you can see there still is a gap between the bottle and the shroud, so nothing's touching. With that all said guys, that's pretty much going to do it for this particular video. Don't forget, if you come into this British Shooting Show, we're going to be there on all 3 days on the Crawley Surplus Store stand. We're probably going to be wandering around the show as well, so if you recognise the hands or the voice, feel free to come say hello. But with that all said, that's pretty much going to do it for this particular video. So thank you very much for watching, I hope it's been useful, and we'll see you in the next one.